Welcome to Reddit Reader. What is the story of your worst date? He took off his pants. After a first date of dinner and a movie, he asked if I'd like to have some fun. I said no. He apologized for overstepping himself. I told him, hey, I totally understand and it's okay. Now, the confusing part. He took my word okay as consent for, I totally want to do sex now. So he immediately and quickly took off his pants. Such awkwardness when I explained it was still a no. I went out one night with some of my girlfriends. I was the young, naive girl in our group. We went to this bar that is on a lake and had a great time drinking margaritas. I met a guy, we danced, laughed, really clicked. My girlfriends were ready to go. I didn't want to. He was making promises that he could get me home, but the DD in our group put her foot down and said we had to go. We exchanged numbers and made promises to talk soon, and the DD took us girls home. The next day, I get a text from him. I'm so excited because he had to be interested if he texts the next day, right? We make plans for dinner, and he offers to pick me up. Him. So, pick you up at the same address? Me. Same address? What are you talking about? Him. The house I dropped you off at. Me. You didn't drop me off. Him. Shut up. We had sex in your driveway. Me. No, we did not. Him. Yes, we did. Me. I'm really confused, and I think you are too, but I'm not the girl you went home with last night. So, the date died before it ever even got started. Grateful for the DD, though. She was a lifesaver. He stuck his fingers in my dessert, licked his fingers, and did it again. I ordered a lemon meringue pie and offered him some. He said no, only to then proceed to say, actually, that looks good, and sticks his fingers in for a taste. Yuck. I was 28 or 29 years old at the time. We'd been talking for approximately 10 minutes over one drink. Him. So do you want kids? Because if you do, you don't want to wait too long. You're drying up. Me. Him. It's biology. Don't be mad. Then there was the time I met a guy for coffee. It was like 9 or 10 a.m. The coffee shop was busy, but fairly quiet. He'd ask me a question. I'd answer, and he'd loudly exclaim, "Nice! High five!" He did this like 4 or 5 times before I had to tell him to stop. I didn't want to keep high-fiving. He went in for a kiss and proceeded to ram his tongue in and out of my mouth, leaving his saliva all over the lower part of my face. I was mortified and tried to play it off as to not make him feel bad. That was by far the worst kiss I've ever gotten. I still get secondhand embarrassment when I think about it. I had been seeing this guy for a few months, but he kept me on the down low, didn't want to commit. Finally, took me out to dinner in public. We sat at the bar. A little after we ordered, his 2 friends got to the bar, and he immediately got up before they spotted us. He went over to them and sat and ate dinner with them and texted me not to come over. So, I sat alone for most of the night until his friends left. I had an old college friend come to visit me and stay for a weekend. Knew her in college. She was amazingly intelligent and fascinating, but we were both spoken for at the time. Years later, I got Facebook, and she was one of the first people to find me. Both of us were single. She asked if I wanted to date her. I said, hell yes. I was thrilled at the prospect. The short version, the weekend was spent listening to her narcissistic bullshit. She told me jokes that are as old as the internet, reworded to sound like personal life anecdotes. She told me all the insane edgelord shit she used to, or still does, like taunting police back in 2009, or sneaking Cuban products back to America when the embargo was still in place. She tried to start a fight with a bouncer when we went to a bar, and she forgot her ID back at my house a block away. We visited some of my best friends, and the moment we parted, she talked shit about them nonstop. My brother came by since I texted him I was out and hung out. She talked to him for quite a while. He left, then she spent the rest of the night talking about how attractive he was. At this point, I was just counting the hours until she left. I was no longer interested in her at all. She finally left, and I get a text that night. You failed all my tests. You laughed at my jokes that weren't really jokes. You didn't defend me against the bouncer, and you aren't interested in my passion, fighting bouncers and cops, and you sat there and took it while I talked about your brother. Also, I don't find you physically attractive." I didn't reply. I just cut my losses and fell asleep. Several months later at 4 a.m., I get another text from her. Same text as I just wrote, only this was out of nowhere, and the injury following insult. I gave her absolute hell for it and blocked her on Facebook. She then made duplicate Facebook accounts and threatened me on those too. She gave up eventually, but I dodged a fucking bullet. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it, dislike if you disliked it, and subscribe so you don't miss our next upload.